This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
Hey guys, back with another Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel countdown, and instead of making another manufacturer's weapon video, I figured I'd focus on a specific element instead. So today, I'm going to be going over guns and weapons that only come in Fire Element. You'd be surprised to know that there are at least 22 guns and weapons from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel that only come in Fire Element, and I think I've picked what I would consider to be the top 9. So without further ado, these will be the top 9 best Fire Elemental guns and weapons in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Number 9. The Longbow. So this will be the first of 2 Minecraft-inspired weapons that made this list. It's also one of the more unique sniper rifles available to the player in Borderlands 2. Instead of firing more traditional projectiles, you fire bolts, much like how a crossbow works. It's also kind of bizarre in that it's one of 3 sniper rifles that don't come stock with a weapon sight. The other 2 being the Buffalo and the Elephant gun, and I suppose you could also count the Razorback from Borderlands the pre-sequel as well. Despite only coming in fire, the Longbow is actually quite powerful if you can score critical hits on fire-vulnerable enemies. Personally, I like to use this gun on Maya as her phase lock makes it a little bit easier to dish out those critical hits. Overall though, the Longbow I would say is worth getting. Be sure to pick one up in Caustic Caverns from one of the badass creepers. Number 8. The Tannis Laser of Enlightenment. So I've always liked this laser. While I would say the Shield of Ages is definitely a better choice as a quest reward, this is a pretty decent laser on Athena, provided you don't have anything else that matches your character's level. It's also the closest thing that we're going to be getting to a flamethrower in a Borderlands game until Borderlands 3 or the next iteration in the franchise finally releases. That said, like all Maliwan beam lasers, it does lack range. In fact, the Tannis Laser of Enlightenment has lower range than an average Maliwan beam laser. And it's certainly better than Toby's Bright Spot Rune in that regard, but it definitely leaves something to be desired. Even still, if you have a Shield of Ages already and want to mess around with a different weapon on Athena, I would recommend the Tannis Laser of Enlightenment. Number 7. The Cat of Nine Tails. So initially, I thought this was a reference to the Pokemon Ninetales from the Pokemon games, and then I realized that Ninetales is a fox and not a cat. Truthfully, the Cat of Nine Tails is a reference to a type of whip that was formerly used in corporal punishment. As for the laser, the Cat of Nine Tails has normal ammo consumption. However, when the projectiles hit a surface, they split into about 8 projectiles or so. And as you can imagine, this is actually awesome, and unlike lame ricochet weapons like the Stinger or the Madhouse from Borderlands 2, you get more projectiles and no decrease in projectile speed with the Cat of Nine Tails. And honestly, this is another weapon that I like to use on Athena, thanks to its potentially high projectile count, and it's also a great way to get some Maelstrom stacks. Number 6. The Volcano. So for those of you that have been with me on this channel for a little while, you know that I like to gush about the Volcano sniper rifle from Borderlands 2. And while the pre-sequel does have the Magma, which is almost identical to the Volcano in terms of function, it apparently doesn't get grenade damage bonuses, while the Volcano from Borderlands 2 does. This is a great sniper rifle for accident in general. It's a little more forgiving than many of the other Maliwan sniper rifles, as it deals a significant amount of damage on just regular body shots. And while the Maliwan Sniper is far superior on most other characters, Accident can boost the Volcano's effectiveness with grenade damage bonuses, which can actually make it exceed the damage potential of the Maliwan Sniper. And overall, I think you should pick this thing up if you play as Axton, because it is great with and without the B shield. Number 5. The Heartbreaker. While it won't set the world on fire, the Heartbreaker is definitely a nice shotgun from Hyperion. It's also going to be the only fire weapon on this list that is also a Moxie weapon. Of course, like all Moxie weapons, the Heartbreaker heals the user for a percentage of the damage you deal. I think making the Heartbreaker shotgun a Hyperion weapon was a good choice, as you also have a shotgun that becomes progressively more accurate as you fire it. The Heartbreaker does fire its projectiles in the shape of a heart as well, so you should be able to consistently get at least several projectiles to hit per trigger pull. Definitely a nice shotgun in the early, mid, and later game for both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Number 4, the Seraphim. The Seraphim is the sister Seraph weapon to the Varuk from Borderlands 2, as both are dual assault rifles. Unlike the Varuk, which can come in multiple elements and has a projectile multiplier, the Seraphim doesn't have a projectile multiplier. However, it does have very high base damage for an assault rifle. And, of course, unlike the Varuk, it also only comes exclusively in fire element, and no other elements are available for the Seraphim. The biggest downsides to the Seraphim is the accuracy, which can get pretty wonky at long distances, and the slow projectile speed certainly doesn't help things, as it also makes faraway enemies extremely difficult to hit. For that reason, I would recommend that you use the Seraphim at close to medium range, because the projectiles can deal a lot of damage up against the right types of enemies. Overall, pick up a Seraphim if you want a good dual fire assault rifle. Number 3, the Blockhead. So the Blockhead is the second of 2 weapons on this list that are clearly inspired by Minecraft, the other being the Longbow. The Blockhead fires 9 Minecraft fireball projectiles per trigger pull, which can ricochet off of different surfaces. And in my personal opinion, the Minecraft fireballs are also one of the more interesting projectile types available in Borderlands 2. Now, the Blockhead is a weapon that would go well with many different characters in Borderlands 2. However, I think one of the best characters to use it with would be Krieg, as Krieg has the Torch skill tree, which is totally devoted to dealing fire damage and buffing fire or other elemental weapons. I'd recommend you go to Caustic Caverns and try killing some creepers to get yourself a Blockhead shotgun. I personally think that this thing is worth it. Number 2, the SaabR. So when I first used the SaabR for the first time, I honestly thought it was a piece of crap. However, provided you can properly gauge your distance and get the explosions to hit whatever you're shooting it at, it's actually a pretty good weapon. In fact, when I tried to kill Terramorphous with Axton, I often used the SaabR, as the unlisted projectiles appeared to get amp damage from the B-Shield. Like a few of the other first-generation pearlescent weapons for Borderlands 2, I wish the SaabR had a more unique weapon skin, as it looks a lot like a bandit assault rifle of purple rarity. Now, maybe if it was like black completely with some red highlights, or if it overall looked more industrial, it would be a lot cooler looking. Even still, it's still a good weapon in the right circumstances. Number 1, the Hellfire. While it's certainly not the most powerful gun or weapon in Borderlands 2 in the pre-sequel, it's a great SMG from both of the games. In Borderlands 2, Axton and Krieg can boost its strength through both grenade as well as fire damage bonuses respectively, and in Borderlands the pre-sequel, Athena can make great use of the Hellfire once she's acquired a high number of Maelstrom stacks. While I wouldn't try to kill a raid boss with the Hellfire, there's a lot of good things about the Hellfire. It's a well-balanced SMG with pretty decent damage over time, as well as pretty good DPS overall. I definitely recommend the Hellfire regardless of which character or game you ultimately play. Anyway guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care and I'll see y'all next time.